Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel, thank you. Today is explanation of upcoming episode Throne of Steel based on novel. So let's start. Hello, Sire Long Houchen, hello. Long Houchen made haste to return the knight salute, please follow me. The Foundation Mithril Knight turned back and stepped out. Under his lead, Long Houchen returned to the room where he resided when he returned to the Knight Temple's headquarters, please wait a moment. Sire Temple Head instructed me to summon you as you come out. I will also inform your mother, okay. Thank you. The Mithril Armored Knight left and Long Houchen sat on the bed, as he gave off a kind of unreal feel. The bed couldn't be considered soft, but the room gave off a feeling of homely warmth. After having sunk in cultivation for so long, he's finally back. As he couldn't help but lie on the bed, stretching his body, he had a kind of really cozy feeling, as if every cell of his was moaning. A short time later, footsteps were heard from the outside. The door was directly pushed upon, and a sweet figure rushed in. Houchen. Baiyu had a very pleasantly surprised voice, very rapidly throwing herself at Long Houchen, and giving a hug to her child. His mother's embrace was full of warmth and fragrance. Long Houchen tightly embraced his mother, Mom. His voice was unconsciously trembling, but the feeling of being able to lean in his mother's embrace was really the best. But right this instant, he directed all his thoughts in his duty. For the sake of bringing an even better life to his mother, for her safety, and for every single mother in the Temple Alliance, he had to do his utmost to resist the attack of the demon invaders as a guardian knight. How could you be gone for so long for your training? It's been a year and a half. Do you know how much your mother worried about you? Baiyu was already sobbing. Her husband having been gone for so long without giving any news, she had finally reunited with such difficulty with her son, but he immediately went in closed-doors cultivation, for a year and a half. If not for Yang Haohan and Grandpa who were here to comfort her, and tell her that he was all right, she would perhaps have gone to look for him long ago. Her son could now be said to be the only thing left in her heart. If something really happened to Long Houchen, Baiyu didn't know if she would have enough courage left to keep living. A soft light essence was released from Long Houchen's body, gradually pacifying the warm feelings coming out from his mother's heart. Letting go of her son's hand, she earnestly looked at him. Houchen, you are thinner, a lot thinner. But still energetic. My son is the sweetest after all. Long Houchen couldn't help but smile, forcing himself not to let tears flow. It has always been so. Mother, I won't keep going in seclusion this time. I will accompany you at dragon-resisting mountain pass. How about it? The door opened, and the white-haired like snow Yang Haohan entered. Seeing the pair of mother and child, he didn't open the door. Before, he heard Long Houchen and his mother converse, and really couldn't bear to go disturb their precious moment, Grandpa Yang. Long Houchen stood up, immediately greeting Yang Haohan, who waved his head with a soft touch, not letting him bow down. Good kid. So you finally finished training. You really made us unbearably worried. This session of yours lasted for a year and a half. Take some rest, and accompany your mother for now. I give you 10 days of vacations, thank you. Long Houchen didn't decline the invitation. 10 days couldn't be considered much, but this could perhaps be the only time he would be able to accompany his mother for a long period in the future. Mother, where is the kitchen here? I will make a meal for you. Oh right, didn't you ask about Kia last time? I'll tell you everything about her, okay? Kia is really very beautiful. In the future, I will surely marry her so she'll be your daughter-in-law. Baiyu finally turned grief into happiness. You little thing. Not even 20, and you're thinking of getting yourself a wife. But it's a good thing. When will you be introducing Kia to me? Long Houchen looked at Yang Haohan with an inquiring look on his face. Yang Haohan was not only the head of the Knight Temple, but also the head of the Alliance. His position in the Alliance was, as such, clearly influential. After coming out from seclusion, what he wanted to know was the time left before being able to gather with his comrades, and the time before he would be able to step on the battlefield again. Your mother is still well? Seeing Long Haohan pay his respect to him, Yang Haohan asked with a smile on his face. Long Houchen nodded silently, but his expression was already full of resolve. So Temple Head, please assign our tasks. I also want to know when the 64th Commander Grey Demon Hunt Squad can be reformed. The smile on Yang Haohan's face vanished at the same time as he gave a nod. You should remember what Xingyu said at the time you parted with each other. Long Houchen replied, I remember that great-grandfather Xingyu said that as long as I successfully break through the 8th step, and that my comrades all reach the 7th step in strength, we can then have the possibility to reform our squad. Yang Haohan nodded. A year and a half have already passed. Regardless of whether the Demon God Emperor used you as a pretext to start this holy war, it is still ongoing, and the Demon God Emperor has yet to send powerhouses to search for your tracks. Therefore, in some sense, the preconditions for your team to be reformed are already fulfilled. Really? Long Haochen was overjoyed at these news. All his comrades were putting great efforts for the sake of reforming the team. As their captain, his thirst for that was greater than anyone else. After a year and a half of peaceful training, his mind became peaceful, but the thirst inside him didn't decrease in the slightest. But that's not all, don't rush. Yang Haohan looked at Long Haochen with a severe eye. The great joy on Long Haochen's face disappeared, but his excitement remained. Because he knew that since Yang Haohan gave him hope, it means that his 64th Commander Grade Demon Hunt Squad had absolutely the hope to get reformed. Yang Haohan replied, "In your young generation, no one can compare with your strength. But it is far from enough against powerful demons. You should know about this point. Therefore, you will all have to prove to the Alliance your ability of self-preservation, should you want to reform your Demon Hunt Squad." Long Haochen was alarmed, asking in hurry, "Grandpa Yang, how is the Holy War going?" These days he had been single-mindedly accompanying his mother, and didn't ask about the situation of the Holy War. The atmosphere surrounding Yang Haohan became heavy. The situation is not good. During the year and a half, we had all-out war against demons. Their armies keep engaging without stop, and the cards in our hands are at their limits. In a year and a half, over a half of the resources saved by the Alliance were consumed. Although we inflicted a serious blow to the demons too, our damage can only be described as disastrous. If this war keeps going on, even if we can repel the demons, the Alliance is bound to lose a lot of its morale. Moreover, the most powerful Devil Dragon Clan, Moon Clan, and Star Clan have yet to participate up to now. Without exaggeration, if they appear in any battlefield, our forts won't possibly hold out. Long Haochen wrinkled his brows. The Holy War already went on for a year and a half, and he could imagine how disastrous this war was. Although he didn't directly participate, he fought enough against the demons. The demon gods in each stronghold reached a count of 8, and their strength alone was very hard to resist. Based on what Yang Haohan said, up to now, the 6 great strongholds were still undefeated. This was a good piece of news, but as one might imagine, the Temple Alliance had to pay a massive cost for that. Yang Haohan continued, "Therefore, the Alliance certainly needs some powerhouses to sneak in demon territory to carry out missions there. Although our losses are enormous, the demons' losses aren't small either. If they weren't surviving by eating the corpses of their own kin, they would have clearly not lasted so long. This time, demons are also suffering a large loss of morale, but we don't know how they can keep attacking like before, and not retreat no matter what. If it goes on like this, we will be the first to crumble. If the demon offenses don't keep gaining in intensity, the Alliance can only hold out for year to year and a half at most." Long Haochen declared severely, "Let us go then. Killing some demons will never be as good as destroying demon god pillars. As long as we can destroy some of their demon god pillars in the rear, they will undoubtedly be greatly affected. The ability of recovery of the Alliance is far greater than the demons, as long as we are given time to adapt and reconstruct our stronghold. Even if the Devil Dragons, Moon Demons, and Star Demons join the lot, we won't necessarily have to fear them." "What you said makes sense, but can you resist the demon gods with your current strength?" The Devil Snake Andromalius demon god pillar having been destroyed, the demons' caution toward the defense of their demon god pillars is even higher. How can you guarantee that you can destroy demon god pillars while remaining safe? After all, Andromalius was the weakest of the 72 demon gods, and you borrowed help from the Forest Boa King at that time. Now that only a year and a half passed, don't tell me you are confident to be able to resist against the other demon god's strength." Long Haochen took a large breath. "I am confident." Yang Haohan shook his head. "It's not a question of confidence, but a question of strength. As the captain of the Demon Hunt Squad, you have to prove to the Alliance that your strength is enough for your team to reform and complete missions in demon territory." Long Haochen wrinkled his eyebrows. "How does the Alliance expect me to prove that?" Yang Haohan replied, "Very simple. Since you are a demon hunter, you will do according to the rules of the demon hunters. In a bit, I will record the count of contribution points in your tile. You will have to achieve a count of 10 million contribution points through slaughter on the battlefield, then the Alliance will permit you to reform your team." Long Haochen having remained in seclusion for so long, he was certain that this child's cultivation was bound to have increased tremendously. But precisely because of this, Yang Haohan couldn't afford to let Long Haochen risk himself inside the demon territory. To the Night Temple, Long Haochen was really too important. As long as he was let to grow, it could be predicted that the future him will shortly become a new legend for the Temple Alliance, the future leader for the Temple Alliance's counterattack. The suggestion of 10 million contribution points was something Yang Haohan decided after much deliberation. That's because he knew that if Long Haochen and his comrades' thoughts to return to the battlefield were flat out rejected, this would be a massive blow to them. Maybe they would abandon themselves to despair, and this was something the Alliance was unwilling to see. And Yang Haohan understood Long Haochen's character. He knew that this youngster was extremely tough. The task of getting 10 million contribution points was actually to keep him in the Night Temple, in the dragon-resisting mountain pass. According to Yang Haohan's calculations, gathering 10 million contribution points would take 5 to 10 years. And that time, Long Haochen should have broken through the 9th step, and won't need to be bound any longer. And furthermore, having Long Haochen battle in the dragon-resisting mountain would permit him to integrate among knights even better, nurturing his talent as commander, and strengthening his influence in the Night Temple, to make preparations to have him undertake the future position of head of the Night Temple. Therefore, this task could be said to be aiming to achieve many moves in one hit, and the best method thought up by Yang Haohan. Seeing Long Haochen's determined look, Yang Haohan nodded slowly. Then I will arrange that. But you have to remember one thing. If you cannot pass through this test, you will not be able to take the lower-ranked trials in the future. You can only remain in the temple and train until you can pass through it, and gain the epic tier Gold Essence Foundation armor. Only then can your task for the 10 million contribution points start. Long Haochen had a start, feeling faintly as if having fallen in a trap. But as a matter of fact, could he cower before that? This would just cause his fighting spirit to collapse, yes. Yang Haohan secretly laughed inside. Little punk, I shall let you act as haughty as you can. In a moment, you will be put in order. His goal was very simple, to do his utmost to drag Long Haochen stay in the Night Temple for as long as possible, for him to reform his team to undertake missions as late as possible. And in this process, Long Haochen could only increase his strength to resolve the issue. This move aimed to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, naturally putting him in a good mood. Yang Haohan called another knight over, and had him take Long Haochen in a training field inside the Night Temple's headquarters. This training field was a lot smaller compared to the Alliance's underground training grounds established back in Holy City. The circular field's diameter reached only 50 meters. But Long Haochen absolutely didn't look down on the training field, because on its roof, its bottom, and all the surroundings were strong fluctuations of spiritual energy. In terms of firmness, the training grounds back in Holy City were no match for this place. After Long Haochen was brought here, that knight left, and only he was left in these training fields. Clad in the glorious holy armor, Long Haochen directly sat on a side of the training fields, focusing his attention on adjusting his breath and on controlling the fluctuations of spiritual energy inside his body. Soft thin golden fog was faintly discernible on the surface of his body, appearing dazzling under the reflection of the glorious holy armor. His sparkling and translucent skin seemed to be transporting charges of light. Sitting there, he immediately had the feeling of being assimilated into the surrounding environment. Without looking for him with one's eyes, one would hardly perceive his existence. His long eyelashes flashing above his eyes, his handsome face gave off a feeling of extreme peacefulness. Long Haochen's wait lasted for close to half an hour, but while sitting here, he didn't make the slightest movement, and didn't have the slightest impatience. The door opened, and a tall knight entered. Standing up, Long Haochen used his right fist to beat his chest, paying his respects to the knight in front of him. Hello. Paying my respects to Sir Gold Essence Foundation Knight. The tall knight had a sonorous voice, but somewhat rough-sounding. Hello. Long Haochen took a look at the counterpart's weapon and equipment. Senior, my equipment seems better than yours. Should I change it? The tall knight indifferently replied, no need. What you will have to do is use everything you can to defeat me. In the time of this trial, one will not be allowed to use his mount. This aside, there are no other restrictions. I won't start off leniently. Let us start. After he finished speaking, this tall knight abruptly took large strides without the slightest pause, charging towards Long Haochen. His steps were large, and when each of them was heard, strong rumbles spread in the whole training field. Intense golden flames abruptly ascended in his body, letting out a torrential oppressive force. Long Haochen's expression changed greatly. He originally had great expectations for the strength of a Gold Essence Foundation Knight, but the massive threat this tall knight caused him to feel went far beyond his expectations. The enemy didn't use any technique and didn't even use his spiritual wings, but his imposing manner reached a supreme level, and his attacks seemed to carry a crushing oppressive force. He could surely go even faster, but painstakingly maintained a certain rhythm, aiming to optimize his imposing manner to its peak starting from the beginning. Long Houchen obviously wouldn't let the enemy reach his goals so easily. His powerful senses told him that if the enemy was left to make such preparations, he would definitely be unable to block his attack. The extremity of his foot tapped onto the ground, as similar golden flames suddenly ascended around him. But the difference compared to that tall knight was that the golden flames abruptly released by Long Houchen were shot toward his back. It appeared as though a golden lightning bolt had appeared abruptly in the training fields, covering the shortest path with the most direct and straight trajectory, aiming forward. Lightspeed flash. Secret retribution knight technique of the 7th step, raising one's speed instantly, and strengthening one's imposing manner to the peak all at once. After one's spiritual energy breaks through 30,000 units, he requires 4 spiritual cavities to break through the 8th step and continue his cultivation. Apparently, not every human at the 8th step has his 4th spiritual cavity at the same location, making everyone's cultivations have different characteristics. For instance, Long Houchen's 4th spiritual cavity was established in his right shoulder. After the spiritual energy breaks through 30,000 units, the liquid spiritual energy in a human's body reaches a terrifying density. Although some spiritual cavities will restrain this phenomenon, after spiritual energy condenses to a certain extent, an effect of solidification will be produced. Spiritual Highland enables one's solidified spiritual energy to burst out instantly, producing a powerful strength. Even for a powerhouse of the 8th step, a massive consumption of spiritual energy would occur from using this powerful ability, and wouldn't be able to project the effect. In other words, Spiritual Highland is only usable in an area in contact of one's skin. Long Houchen already broke through the 8th step officially, but he was, after all, a newcomer to the 8th step. He had some comprehension regarding Spiritual Highland, but was still not very familiar with its use. It would require him to continuously strengthen his spiritual energy to display the real might of Spiritual Highland. And by the time he breaks through the 9th step, he will be able to use an external Spiritual Highland. Originally, at the time Long Houchen and his father were in Odin Town, when Long Xingyu relied on his domineering strength to instantly kill a large amount of demon powerhouses, he actually used the external Spiritual Highland. Of course, through the great amplification of his divine throne, he reinforced the power of his Spiritual Highland, otherwise it wouldn't have reached such a level. This was the first time Long Houchen was faced with Spiritual Highland. That's because although he had faced powerhouses of the 8th step before, they were all demons of the 8th step. And it was the first time for him to face a human powerhouse of the 8th step. Only after learning by experience can one understand the truly terrible might of Spiritual Highland. And furthermore, to Long Houchen's shock, the control of this tall knight over Spiritual Highland already reached the level of perfection. He was using lightspeed flash with the strike of his sword and body becoming one, matched with the ultra-divine sword aria of the Goddess of Light, producing an incredible might. If he faced another knight of the 8th step, simply using Spiritual Highland wouldn't have stopped him. However, it was after this tall knight managed to predict his attack that he prepared Spiritual Highland to block the attack from the aria of the Goddess of Light. It went so far that the sharp end of Long Houchen's sword didn't even manage to shake that tower shield. This stagnation only lasted for a split second. The next instant, Spiritual Highland spread out from that tower shield just like a tsunami. Long Houchen was surprised. What is the reward the Alliance planned for us? After some discussion, in view of the great contribution made by your Demon Hunt squad, the Alliance decided to cancel all of the rank advancement fees for your team. Are you satisfied with this reward? Long Houchen was greatly overjoyed, very satisfied. Cancelling all the contribution points for advancement fees from this day onwards was no small amount. In fact, for a Demon Hunt squad to advance to King grade, 1 million contribution points would be required. And from the King grade to the Emperor grade, that was 10 million contribution points. As for the advancement to the titled grade, in addition to sufficient strength, enormous contributions to the Alliance, at least the killing of several demon gods, were also required. Only after meeting all the requirements could one advance to the titled grade. In other words, even without accounting for the last rank, they would still normally need to use 11 million contribution points for advancing in rank. This amount of contribution points was enough to purchase a few epic tier equipments, making this reward the Alliance bestowed them quite considerable. Yang Haohan recorded the count of Long Houchen's current contribution points, all good. Save the excitement for later. Until you complete your mission of gathering 10 million points, your team won't be reformed. These contribution points will in no way be meaningless from your point of view either. However, I have to warn you once again, no matter how hurried you are to get done with it, you must pay extreme attention to your own safety. I have to emphasize once again the importance the alliance attaches to your safety, yes. Long Haochen gave a respectful reply. Yang Haohan raised his right hand, and a golden light shot out in the office. Immediately, very dense fluctuations of spiritual energy spread out, and a small cube appeared in front of Long Haochen. This cube only reached 1/6 of a meter in height, 1/2 meter wide, and 1/3 of a meter in length. This volume was unremarkable, but more importantly, it spread out an orange luster, the orange color that is exclusive to the epic tier. This cube didn't have any decoration or engravement on, but let out a feeling of mystery from its straight lines. Is this? Long Haochen asked Yang Haohan in astonishment. Yang Haohan smiled at him. How about it? Doesn't look like a Mithril Foundation armor at all, right? It's just what you wanted, an epic tier gold essence foundation armor. It has a smaller volume than the Mithril Foundation armor, and is less thick. But its amplification effects are beyond comparison with the former. This gold essence foundation armor has been acquired with the sweat and tears of our predecessors, and when using it, you will naturally feel how great its assistance will be. I hope that you will use it well, and with courage against the enemy, until the day that you become a divine knight, yes. Long Haochen waved his right fist, performing another knight salute in front of Yang Haohan. As Long Haochen's feet stood firmly on it, he found out with surprise that the gold essence foundation armor under his feet didn't give off a feeling of hardness like gold as he expected, but a kind of soft feeling. Right, that was a feeling of softness. And what's more, this gold essence foundation armor seemed to have a vitality of its own, letting Long Haochen sense its heartbeat. Soft fluctuations of light essence spread out from Long Haochen's body, entering in the gold essence foundation armor. Immediately, the lower part of the armor gave him a comfortable feeling, to the extent that Long Haochen could hear an extremely happy groan from it. Immediately afterwards, the heartbeat he felt earlier became even clearer, and it quickly started to match his own heartbeat. A dark golden glow swept across, and in a mere instant, Long Haochen became clad with this set of epic tier equipment. The sound it produced was completely different from the time the Mithril Essence Foundation armor was worn. Just now, when the Gold Essence Foundation armor was put on, he felt like a river engulfed him. Long Haochen saw a dark golden liquid was spreading over him. Focusing his attention, he found out that he was already completely enveloped in this dark golden liquid. Inside Yang Haohan's room was a mirror. Unconsciously, Long Haochen turned towards its direction, only to realize that this was an incomparable armor. In terms of imposingness, the Gold Essence Foundation armor was not even as great as the Mithril Foundation armor. But it had a very special tactile feel. Long Haochen simply felt as if his whole body was soaked in warm light essence, strengthening by almost twofold his already great senses. To his great shock, his internal spiritual energy, that was over 30,000, increased and by quite a lot. This Gold Essence Foundation armor was like an immense spiritual cavity outside his body, that kept absorbing the external light essence at a frantic speed. But rather than storing it in Long Haochen's body, it was stored in the Gold Essence Foundation armor. Using his perception, Long Haochen realized that he was able to transfer this spiritual energy at any time for battle or cultivation. Without even mentioning its offense or defense, this aspect alone had unlimited benefits in times of battle. It was a total war machine, to the extent that Long Haochen was unable to determine the limits of his Gold Essence Foundation armor's capacity. In other words, this epic tier battle armor was able to store more spiritual energy than Long Haochen's total limits. This sleek golden armor covered Long Haochen's whole body within. The helmet was diamond-shaped, masking his face naturally. The armor covered Long Haochen's upper body, including his shoulders. The chest part protruded a little, but besides that, the other parts didn't look much different from ordinary battle armors. However, its lines seemed to draw out his figure perfectly. Han Yu nodded, resisting with great difficulty the urge to follow Long Haochen. Many thanks to you two grandpas for your help. He finished his secluded training long before Long Haochen, and had already become a Saint Knight of the 7th step. Long Jianying was accompanying him all this time, sending him to complete some missions to familiarize himself with the dragon-resisting mountain path. Grandpa Yang, I want to know when I can take the examination to become a Mithril Foundation Knight. Han Yu was looking on helplessly at Long Haochen, clad in epic-tiered golden foundation armor. Although he was quite far below Long Haochen, as a knight, he also had an incomparable thirst for honor. Yang Haohan smiled in response and asked Long Jianying, what do you think about that? Is this child strong enough for now? Long Jianying shook his head, he's still a bit lacking. His proficiency in battle is okay, but his spiritual energy is still a bit low. But he should have enough contribution points on him to purchase one. Yang Haohan looked at Han Yu, did you hear? Your grandpa long agreed to let you take a shortcut. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and thank him. You guys really made a fortune in the demon's lands. You have even gotten enough to purchase a Mithril Foundation armor. In fact, because of its symbolic aspect and great power, Mithril Foundation armor has a cost of 400,000 contribution points in the Demon Hunters Transaction Center. Hanyu shook his head with a determined look. No, grandfathers, I don't want to buy it. I want to obtain a Mithril Foundation armor with my own strength. My contribution points were earned by the whole team, and are not mine alone. Captain would surely have chosen the same. I believe that I deserve a Mithril Foundation armor that is not obtained using contribution points. Hearing that, Long Jianyang's gloomy look became clearly a lot warmer, as he patted Hanyu's shoulders. A real, ambitious man you are. Then let it be so. When your strength is sufficient, the temple will make all the preparations for you, understood? Long Haochen naturally didn't know about this episode that happened after he left. With the use of his commander-graded Demon Hunt Squad insignia, his journey went very smoothly. After exiting the dragon-resisting mountain pass, he confirmed which path to follow and went straight for the Night Saint Mountain. As a matter of fact, it had been over a year and a half since Long Haochen had seen the outside world. The constantly frozen dragon-resisting mountain pass had an extremely cold climate, but when breathing this frozen air, Long Haochen had a feeling that he was returning to reality. A low temperature like that had no effect on him, to say nothing about the golden foundation armor on him that defended against the external low temperature even better than winter clothing. Just like that, Long Haochen didn't meet with a single small demon scouting team, and went straight towards the Night Saint Mountain. The distance from dragon-resisting mountain pass to the Night Saint Mountain was not very far, 100 kilometers at most. The demon armies could obviously choose to attack it as well, but for that, they would have to penetrate deep into human territory. More importantly, the Night Saint Mountain is not an easy prey. Part 1 end here.